Hello everyone, my name is Mirna, and on behalf of Mindalia TV, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today we have the great pleasure of having with us Sunny Chase. Sunny is not only the host of this show, but she's also the host of ABC Solutionary Sundays. She is the chief strategist for Whole Lifetime Magazine, the longest running conscious life magazine in America. Sunny is a producer, a moderator, and a mythbuster, amongst many other talents that you may be about to see. But she is going to be having a great conversation with Craig Kolavo. But before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness in the planet, and you can help us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video also, or sharing with someone that you know that can benefit of the content that we're going to be talking here today. When we're live streaming, we have an active chat. It's the screen you're going to be seeing here on my side, and through there we invite you to interact with us. Remember, by liking and subscribing, you are only helping us reach as much people in the planet as possible. And remember, liking not only this channel, but Mindalia Televisao. If you speak Portuguese, Mindalia Televisión. If you speak Spanish, we are sharing amazing information on a daily basis in those channels, as nice as the one that you're already used to see in Mindalia TV. We're not going to be delaying this any further, and I have the super pleasure of introducing Sunny. Sunny, welcome to Mindalia. How are you?
I'm doing so great, Myrna. How are you doing?
Doing great also. Happy to have you here. Happy about the
Thank
conversation that
you.
we're going to be having. What do you have for us? What are we going to be talking
Well,
about?
I just want to chat with you about the kids. I want to chat with you about, I know we often talk about the environment, and you know, I'm quite the environmentalist and have been for a long time. And you know what? It just breaks my heart open in one way that we are where we are. You know, when I started really being involved 20 years ago, and certainly 12 at my first peace conference on June 1st in 2007, and having amazing scientists and poets and musicians come together to really see what we could do to make a difference in the world at that time. I honestly and truly do not think that we would, I mean, we were hearing about we were going to have the floods and the fires and the tornadoes and everything, but I thought surely we're going to not get to that point. Surely politicians and business and human beings of all kinds would make a difference and you know, kind of turn the ship around literally and stop using fossil fuels and heed the call, you know, heed the clarion call. And this past Earth Day, as you know, it just made me cry my eyes out because we're sort of, you know, worse than we were then. So I feel like I want to write a song called "Pass the Torch" or "Take the Torch" or something, because I feel like the kids are stepping forward. So as we saw with Greta um, Thunberg, I think is how she says her name, from Europe last year, walking out of school and being the only person, and then this full year being such an advocate and such a speaker, and then having millions of people, millions of kids around the world walking out of school, it just broke my heart open. And policy change will happen, and it's the kids, and so that's kind of where I am right now. That's what's on my heart right now.
How serious you take the need of doing something for our planet. That's what we're all here, because we believe in a better world, we believe in better people. And there's something I heard the other day, I actually read it, and it said, like, we are not sure about what we need to tend more, if leaving good people for this planet, or even leaving a planet for the people. So where do we grab, this whole thing that we have in front of us from? And that's what we're doing. And we're gonna be having a great conversation, and we're gonna inspire, and we're gonna share, and hopefully we accomplish what we want. I'm an optimistic by heart.
Right, and the thing is I was talking to my sister the other day, and I think I've read this on the show before, but my dear friend Drew Dellinger, who is well, he's many, many things, but he's the foremost expert on Martin Luther King, as well as many other things. He's a doctor now. I'm very proud of him, and a doctor of philosophy. And he wrote a poem many, many years ago, and this is just part of it. But it goes like this: It's 3:23 in the morning, and I'm awake because my great great grandchildren won't let me sleep. My great great grandchildren ask me in dreams, "What did you do when the earth was unraveled? What did you do once you knew?" And and it goes on. It's actually a really long poem, but that's the question that he asked 15 years ago. He wrote this poem, and this poem was actually spoken on the floor of Congress many years ago when Al Gore was trying to get through legislation for the environment. And this past March, Drew was in San Francisco, and he was walking, marching with the people, with the kids. And then there were these older ladies, probably in their 80s, and they had huge signs that went really high up, like 15 feet high, and written on it, it said, "What did you do once you knew?" It just breaks my heart. And and then it said Drew Dellinger underneath it. And so he met these ladies just in the street and took a picture of it and put it on Instagram. And I thought, but what that is the question that my grandkids and my grandnephews and nieces are going to ask me, Auntie Sunny, what did you do? And at least I'll be able to say, none of those bottles you see in the ocean came from me. And that's one thing I will be able to say for sure. So kind of like that.
Wow.
So I feel like because I was talking about Drew and I was talking about the my peace conference that started in June, I feel like I want to sing a little bit of Plant a Seed that was written for that peace conference. And as I say, I'm thinking about this song. I'm only going to sing a little bit of it because I want to bring Craig on. But this morning I was thinking, gosh, it really is time for kind of the older people to pass the torch to the young ones because they really have the passion. They have the fear, unfortunately, about what they're going to be left with and what they have right now. And so I think they have the brains, they're going to have the vote, and they're going to have the ideas. So this this is in honor of all those kids out there. I'm going to just sing a little bit of this. Plant a seed, watch it grow right where fear and anger live, and the walls loom high. Shine a light on the soil of forgiveness where we all live and move beneath the same sweet sky. Watch the night return today as the gentle wind of wisdom blows the boundaries all away, and we'll find we have all the love we need, and it all begins when we plant a seed. Can't do it
Fabulous.
all the way without crying.
Nice.
So let's bring Craig on. Hi, Craig. I'm going to speak with you a little bit, but let me bring you on so I can not cry.
We need some tissue around here. Hey, Sonny. That was
It all
fabulous.
begins when we plant a seed, right, guys?
Oh, I know. And such a perfect segue, that song. And I really, really appreciate your passion for the environment and giving me the opportunity to come on and chit chat with you a little bit here this morning and try to share my message with the world.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Craig, for being here. And I want to tell our audience that we do have, I love this book so much, Craig. This is Craig Cavallo's for Kolavo. I did it, Craig. It was so funny. You said everybody calls you Cavallo, and it's true. Now I did it. Kolavo. And he wrote this awesome book. I'm showing it to you right now. It's called I Am God in Disguise, So Are You. And I love that because I actually found it such a beautiful, fun book. And it says in the back, discover the divine within, become a player in the game of life, which of course we all are players in the game of life. So I feel like I want to say become aware that we're the player in the game of
Yeah,
life.
exactly.
But Craig, you're such a, I just want to let people know that not only is Craig this great author, he's also a philanthropist. He also has the heart of the environmental movement. And he has been speaking all around and doing many interviews and things like that. So welcome to Mindalia TV, Craig. I want to officially welcome you today.
Okay, and thank you again. Yeah, on that note of the environment, Sonny, the my message is kind of tied in a couple ways. One way, very obviously, is in the first page of the book. I talk about donating 100% of all ebook sales to water.org. And this
Oh,
organization is very, very special to me. I'm not sure if you know much of them, but
I know a
just
lot about them.
oh,
So, but
cool.
you share with our audience.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. It was started by Matt Damon over 25 years ago, and when I was searching for organizations that I wanted to contribute to or to support with the book sales, there's many, as you can imagine, out there that are worthy causes. But what I believe sets water.org apart is they go into these villages and these communities. I mean, it kind of reminds me of that saying from Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher. He says, you can give a man a fish, feed him for a day, or teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime. And that is
Mm-hmm.
so perfect to describe
Mm-hmm.
what water.org is all about.
Mm-hmm.
They're going in and their experts on the ground are helping people dig wells and find water and build bathrooms, and they're setting up these micro loans so these communities can have ownership in these projects, and there's pride that comes with ownership, and even if you're only paying $20 a month to pay back for these resources. So it's really fantastic. I guess what I'm saying is sometimes charity is not enough. It's amazing when people are giving food and water and shelter, but to teach a man to fish is a powerful saying. So thanks for letting me share that.
Well, yeah, and water.org and a few other organizations like that. There's another organization I love called Waves for Water. It was started by John and Jack Rose, and John was a famous surfer. He was sponsored by Nike and Adidas. I don't know if I know exactly who. I know it was also Hurley. And what happened with him was he was, and this leads into our conversation, so I don't want anyone to feel like we're not chatting about the book, which we will. But
No, good.
um, his dad had figured out this tube, this filter, and it's very small. It fits in the big sides of a Ziploc bag, actually. And in the tube, it has one end of it a little filter that's a spot like they use for dialysis for kidneys in
Mm,
hospitals. So it's dinky, it's really small, but it filters out so many things, so much bacteria, so much even dirt and grime and everything. And it can be, you can take a ubiquitous 5-gallon plastic bucket that are now all over the world, just take a knife or something, smash it in the bottom, pop this thing in, and then with gravity, it goes through, and mucky, icky water goes through and is clear. And so his dad was figuring this out. Well, John had some in his backpack, and he was going to Japan to do one of these famous surfing competitions and everything. And little did he know that he ended up being there the day of it wasn't Fukushima, it was the earthquake before that. I'm not remembering which one, but he ended up being at ground zero, Craig. and he
Wow.
was just this handsome dude who was, dating Pamela Anderson and having, quite the life, and let alone, I mean, all just there he was before the Red Cross could get there, before anybody could get there, and he had these filters in his backpack, and so he ended up being able to be, an amazing healer at the time, and person. So that changed his life, and he decided to dedicate his life to, to doing that. So those guys do that stuff all around the world too, and so it's very similar where they're giving people the power. So that's what it's about, giving the people the power. Well,
Right.
and actually, we're not even giving people power. They already have the power. We're just reminding them, giving them the tools for their own power,
Yeah, that's a
right?
great that's a great point. And actually, before we get off the water.org and move on, I just want to give a shout out right now because I know this show will be heard in Los Angeles area. I want to give a shout out to Matt Damon. If you're listening, I've sent him a letter. I want him to read for my Audible book, and if he does, I will also donate 100% of the audio book to his charity. So
Well, we
help me help you, Matt.
well, it's very, as lovely things happen. We're in a time of magic. We're just in a time of magic. So, yes,
Yes.
we'll send this message. We'll set this prayer out to Matt. And Matt, if you are listening, no, for real. I love that idea. I really love that idea. So, Craig, I want to chat with you a little bit about the idea of I am God in disguise. Most
Hmm.
of our viewers, I think, and listeners are pretty sophisticated in the world of sacredness and spirituality. So I think many know that. But I want you to kind of share in a deeper way how, what this experience has been for you, even writing the book and also just in your own life, how you feel, like how that has shown up for you, how
Okay.
you have felt that you're God in disguise.
Okay. Sure. Sure. Well, I think one of the biggest differences in this book, and actually, thanks for mentioning the title again. Um, I wanted to the title "I Am God in Disguise" and really focusing on that word disguise is my belief in the spiritual path being this fun, exciting adventure, and it kind of fits that theme of thinking of ourselves as being in disguise on a covert mission. You see, I believe, Sonny, that as kids, out of fear, in early stages of development, out of fear, we create this facade or this mask, and it's really a mask for protection.
Mhm,
And in the book, I call it our bodyguard.
mhm,
And as adults, if we're one of the few that are lucky enough to awaken, and what I mean by that is to rediscover this divine part of our nature, we once again become aware of this mask. And the cool part is we now have this mask that is no longer, we're no longer hiding behind it, like we were as kids in fear. This mask is now a part of our strength, part of our power. I kind of look
beautiful.
at it as we become superheroes. And, we get to go out into the world. And when we awaken, I see ourselves, Sonny, as being embedded kind of in the world of sleepwalkers, and we're exactly where we're needed to be. So yes, so I am God in disguise. The origination, the reason I came up with that title is just because I think for me it's just fun and exciting to think of life as this adventure and being on this covert mission.
Well, one thing that you said that I really love, I mean, I love everything you just said. And one thing you're reminding us of is that in the spiritual sort of progression that we've gone through in the last 50 years, it's different concepts have come out. And I appreciate that we're sort of peeling back things. And so when you're talking about the mask, there are many different people. Of course, Don Miguel is so great at really explaining that, and how, like, for example, you see, I put out what I think you want to see, and you
Uh,
see what I think I'm putting out, and you're doing the same thing. And so there's this sort of like dance that we all do all the time. And then we've moved to a place so that, so realizing that, the
mhm.
brilliant people that kind of have discovered that, although it's been a conversation for 5,000 years, but still, in the modern day. And then we got to a place many years ago where it was like, kill the ego. The ego is bad. The ego, we must get rid of it and everything. And then now we're moving into, which isn't possible. So
Right,
yay.
right.
So I'm glad we've kind of moved past that to a place where we're realizing, let's play with the ego. And Dr. Stu Morter, who I love and study with, calls the ego actually the protective personality, which I love, because if
Hmm.
we think of the ego like if we're little kids, like our mom or dad protecting us, we realize that the protective personality is doing just that. It's protecting us. So I think when we have that feeling, then we have so much compassion for that feeling that comes up for us when we're in a situation and we feel scared, or we feel insecure, or we feel angry, or we feel like a jerk, or however it is we feel, or
Right.
jealous, or whatever comes up. We realize, oh, that's okay, little Sonny. That's your protective personality. Now, why is that coming up? What is that about? So I appreciate the levels that we get to play in this very time in our human spiritual
Hmm.
journey that we're going on, that we can keep going deeper and higher. Don't you think?
For sure. And it's funny, what you were just explaining, you said this really goes back 5,000 years. And,
At least.
I know, right? So,
Yeah.
I really resist being kind of lumped into this new age message. Um, because as you just said, I've studied back to the Vedas, the Hindu scriptures, and Buddhism, and the Bible. And this message is so old, being God in disguise. For example, I pulled this brief little quote out. Do you not know you are God's temple and God's spirit dwells in you? I mean, if that doesn't sound like I am God in disguise, I don't know what does. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I really, I'm with you. This is not a new age concept. We're just kind of rediscovering it almost.
Yeah, and I think giving ourselves that permission. And when you were saying that when you had this title, that you were getting pushback when we were having our chats this
Right.
past week, I
Hmm.
was so amazed by that, because I thought, gosh, really? I mean, but still, in
Right.
other words, I know that there was a sort of sacrilegious. I mean, gosh, you could be burned at the stake for thinking or saying or presenting one as godlike. Of course, I think of the witches and the
Yeah.
sacred women, my ancestors being burned at the stake for having these quote unquote lofty, what ego again,
Hmm.
grandiose ideas. And gosh, I mean, whew, how painful that is, because the truth has always been, as you say, we are God in disguise. And at some point, we will just be able to take the disguise off at some point.
Right, right. But Sonny, like you say, to go a little deeper, we should probably investigate our current definition of God. So being
Yeah,
raised, right, being raised Catholic, coming out of that childhood, we are taught to think of God as this external judgmental being. I mean, literally, and I hate to laugh or make fun of it, but literally, this old man with a white flowing beard in a throne up in the clouds somewhere. I mean,
yeah,
that's who we're taught to. He's going to be judging us and punishing us or patting us on the back. And if I'm saying I am God in disguise and I'm talking about that God, well, hell yeah, that's kind of narcissistic, right? But that's
yes,
not the God I'm talking about, Sonny. My definition, or the way I would explain God, is I see it as this life force or this vibrating energy that vibrates or animates every cell in my body. And it not only flows through me, but it flows through all of creation. I mean, it's actually what connects us all.
Yes.
So in that context, now I can say I am God in disguise, so are you, and I'm not squirming in my seat. I'm comfortable saying that.
Well, the thing that you say that is great is also saying, so are you. So, like we also chatted about earlier, when I was a little girl, I was completely clear that I rocked it, that I was amazing. I could do anything. I had all the power. I was just magical. And I just knew that everybody else felt that way too about themselds. And
Right.
at a certain point, I'm not actually sure even when it was that I found out that wasn't exactly true. Not everybody else felt that way about themselves. And when I found that out, it was really heartbreaking and really kind of shocking. It's like, guys, really? Like you don't know that about yourself?
Hmm.
I was just so clear about that. And I can really, because I'm older now and I've gone through the hard knocks of my life that I've created for myself to create a bit of humility, that would be for sure. It's almost hard for me to remember how pure I was at that time and how clear I was. Because I'm not as clear as that now, honestly. I mean, I have glimpses of it and I have moments of it that come back to me and I have, days or weeks of it and then it goes away again. But I just think I can tell you that it was so clear and it was not at all about ego, like I thought I was cool and groovy and bitchin' and amazing more than anybody else. I honestly and truly believe every single person on the earth felt the same way. Just like every tree knows its power and its strength and its majesty and everything. And it knows every other tree knows that
Hmm.
same energy. I don't even want to call it a thing because it's not a thing. It's a way. It's a truth. So yeah, like that.
Right, right, right. Well, you have a unique experience, and I'm sure a lot of your audience is well aware of your story. But unfortunately, most of us have this longer unconscious stage in the beginning of our spiritual development where we're not as connected, and it takes us a while to discover that divine nature. And to just hit on what you were talking about, when you do make that discovery and you finally do surrender to that
Mm,
divine part of your being, you quickly discover, as you just said, you discovered not everyone, we're not all on the same page.
yeah.
We're all on different stages in this path, and that's okay. It's just when you first reach that discovery phase, it does take a little bit of getting used to. Of when you first meet new people, for example, it within a few minutes, just from the energy and the conversation, you kind of know where they are on their path, and you'll feel pushback. You mentioned pushback from the title. One of
Hmm.
my favorite authors that I've recently discovered is a guy named Richard Rohr. His last name is spelled Rohr, and he happens to be a Catholic priest for the past 50 years. And he says, I was listening to his podcast the other day. He said that humanity 2,000 years ago, humanity was not ready for this message, but he firmly believes that today mankind is ready. Consciousness has evolved. And the only reason I bring him up is because he's been a Catholic priest for over 50 years. And that's pretty strong to come out and say, humankind was not ready for this message 2,000 years ago.
Well, I will add to that because perhaps he was talking about the northern hemisphere because the Bushmen, for example, and the Aboriginal people of Australia and New Zealand have known this for many years, and the Bushmen have known it for 60,000 years. So perhaps he is speaking of the northern peoples above the equator. And also, what I'm happy about, or what I'd love to share and remind us, is because the Bushmen have known that we are God incarnate, that everything is God, that there is no separation. There's no separation from animals to people to trees to anything ever. They have been holding that, how shall I say, that flame, that energy on this earth all this time. So we in the northern have caught up. And luckily we're catching up a little bit more and more now. But yes, that energy of the knowing has been on the earth for a very long time. So that's the good news. It's sort of the drumbeat that's been underneath the music. And then we're finally adding the other orchestral pieces to it to fill it out for all of humanity. So I'll just make that little
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, I like that. I'm actually totally unaware of what you were talking about. So that's interesting.
Yeah, the Bushmen, I had one of it was a sacred moment that it took about 4 months for us to pull together. But my family lived with the Bushmen in Africa and
Ah,
in the Kalahari Desert, and I was able to have an interview on Mindalia TV actually with a San elder Bush woman who's 50, and their way of life is being moved out, and they really want the northern people to know everything they know because they know their time is numbered, which is very heartbreaking. But Lace, who was the woman I was speaking with, was explaining about how I asked her what they did for fun. This is just just fun for you to know, Craig. I think you'll get a big kick out of this. I asked her. She had a translator because she speaks Xhosa, and I don't understand it. But I asked her, so what? How do you connect with nature? Because you guys have the messages. So bring us a message. Bring us a message about how we can connect with our inner knowing that we are all one. And she said, well, she got very animated like a little girl. And she said, well, what we would do sometimes is if we wanted to have fun, we would say, oh, tonight let's call in the lions. And, and so she said, we would gather in a circle and we would start singing certain songs, and we would have drums and we would start singing. And the lions would come from wherever and walk around our circle. And she was saying this with the biggest smile, of course, in her Xhosa language. And I just couldn't believe, I mean, really?
right.
So they, that's how connected they are. And they were connected with the scorpions. And she had many, many stories about how nature and the bush people, just dance together where we wouldn't think that would be possible. But for them,
Mm,
that was a fun, Saturday night.
right, right. Sounds kind of dangerous to me, but
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I'm reading this chapter 2 just as we were talking. I thought, okay, I'm just going to open your book to, whatever page opens. And
okay.
it happens to be chapter 2, The School of Life.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you say in the first paragraph, you say the school of life is meant to teach us about human nature and to prepare us for our heroic mission. Again, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And then I would even add to that, Greg, we are, let's be a spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. So we can even up level that today. That'll be our
Right.
wish for ourselves today. And then you say we have much to learn and our survival depends on it. Yes, absolutely. And that is where you talk about another popular quote that resonates with you. You say, I am in this world, but not of this world. Both share a similar meaning. We are in a strange new world of having an experience that is foreign to us. The school of life is the first step on our journey. So that's so beautiful.
Well, hey, thank you, thank you, and thanks. Yeah, thanks for reading that. So to kind of backtrack and maybe better understand that little excerpt even better is my my message really in a nutshell. I know Myrna was teaching me last week that I need to look into the camera more. So I'm trying, Myrna. But, but, but my message in a nutshell is that we are all born into this world as body and soul, both equally important for this amazing adventure that lies ahead. Okay. And I see that as our primal way of being. And the reason I call it primal way, that word really resonated with me. And primal, primordial, I looked up the definition and it was just perfect. It's an organism's original stage of development. So we enter this earth as body and soul, a perfect combination of human nature and divine nature. And then I believe that all experiences throughout our life are designed to lead us back to discovery, to discover to discovering this sleeping giant, that the divine part of our beings. Call it whatever you want. Call it soul, spirit, God, it doesn't matter. But I believe that all experiences in life are designed to lead us to discovery. So that excerpt that you just read is where, we're born into this world, and I refer to it in the book as alien birth. And the reason I call it alien birth, just kind of tongue in cheek, is because I kind of see it as, again, getting back to definitions, an alien is any being foreign to its current environment, an outsider belonging to a very different place. So, Sonny, I kind of see it as we're being, as far as birth goes, we're being pulled from this invisible world of pure energy into the world of form. So I just imagine this little baby is being an alien, and when he or she opens his eyes for the first time, is just kind of terrified seeing these strange beings looking back at him or her. So before we enter the school of life and get to that chapter 2 that you're reading from, I believe that the bodyguard has to take shape. I mentioned that our early stage of development, we have this primal fear and we want to protect ourselves. It's just human nature. So we develop the bodyguard, and he's a very, very important part of our journey, especially during that school of life part that you were reading from. So, so yes, I believe we all share the same collective purpose as human beings, which is to discover that divine nature, to discover that sleeping giant, to surrender to that part of ourselves. Discovery is not enough. Yogananda, I'm going to paraphrase him. I didn't write down the quote. Yogananda says, when you discover that river of God flowing through you, you need to jump into that river and drown yourself. And I love that. I mean, talk about becoming one, right?
Yeah.
So, because discovery, all religions offer you a relationship with the divine. And you know
Yeah.
what? That's a great first step, but it's not enough. There are so many layers, or levels rather, above that. So that's a great start, discovering the divine within. But my book, my
Yes.
message is trying to lead the reader as quickly as possible to surrender, because that's where the freaking magic begins.
Yeah, and surrender is so amazing and so important and so relevant right now. It's sort of the buzzword in the sacred community right now. Surrender, surrender. And what does that really mean? Because in some ways, for some people, it can mean giving up, you know. And
Hmm.
so even though it isn't that, and we know that, it can also, there can be a little bit, of course, the ego can feel like that. The protective personality can say, "Ooh, that's giving up." No, it's not giving up. It is moving into the possibility. It's moving in. I mean, that's the name of this show, Pioneers of Possibility. And that's what we're cultivating in even having this conversation. What is another possibility, and there are many people who have said, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but we can't move into our next great thing until we let go of what we're in. I don't know if you know this, Craig, but what does it take for a chick to leave the egg? The chick, it's safe in the egg. It's all dandy and
Mm,
fine in there.
mm,
Well, nature created something to get that chick out of that egg, because most probably the chick would just stay in the egg and just die because it wouldn't get oxygen. But there's it's almost like formaldehyde. There is a gas-ish thing that gets excreted from inside the egg
mm.
that is like, woo, time to leave. And so then the little chick starts pecking to break the shell and get out. And so we can stay in the shell. We can
No,
live our
yeah.
whole life being in the shell. And the only, sometimes I believe it's our angels. I believe it is our something around us, because that's the way I can pray. It's hard for me to pray to an energy that I can anthropomorphize a little bit. So
Hmm.
for me, it's angels, and to guide me and to help me move to the next level when I'm afraid of leaving my shell, and literally,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's our inner voice that says, come on, let's get out of that shell. And sometimes it can be outer experiences that create a change, because the universe does want us to keep moving, keep moving. But that's part of the surrender. It's like we are, by moving out of the shell and into the big world, like the little chick finally does. It's so much better out there than in that little shell, but we don't know that. So, what do you think about
Right, right. No, that's a great metaphor. And just to back it up to what you said about the actual word surrender,
that? Mm-hmm.
and that's it was really I'm glad you pointed that out, because the word obviously has a negative connotation. I mean, the word means, to give up, to so who I'm going to preach to people. I'm going to try to teach people that the ultimate goal in life is to give up. And it especially has a negative connotation. And I learned this through my wife with women. She told me, I bounce these ideas off her. And while I'm editing the book, she's helping me and she's reading along. And she said, I'm not sure if I like this word, you using this word surrender. And I said, why? And she said, because most women battle their whole lives with not being disempowered. And that's what it meant to her. So when I explained to her that it's the total opposite of that, what I explained to her is, I believe we're born into royalty, and it's reclaiming our power. It's not giving up our power. It's discovering that we've got this the greatest power, the greatest partner ever, deep within us. And we're kind of giving up the controls uh,
Yeah.
to ourselves, not to an external source. So once she got that, she got over the hump of that negative, connotation that she carried with the word surrender.
Well,
You're
yeah, and I think that a lot of the people in the spiritual world, understand. I mean, there's a lot of "Let My Soul Surrender." There are many songs written about it that I know I've sung for many years. So the idea of surrender, um, I understand it, and I get it, and it's scary. That's the situation. It's scary for the chick. That's why nature put that formaldehyde or whatever that gas is, because knowing that little chick wants to stay in, or when we're born as babies, we're more than happy to stay in the room with the perfect level of water, the perfect temperature, everything is completely perfect, perfect.
right,
And
right,
then it's
right.
like time to leave, and it's like, okay, so something has got to happen. And but the other point to remember is that if the chick stayed in the egg, or if the baby stays in the body, it dies.
Right.
That is the other thing. So at a
Right.
certain point, we like they say in the sacred world too, treading water is not the name of the game. I
Right,
mean, maybe
right.
a little bit, but that's not where we're supposed to hang out. So there, so the surrendering, I mean, and I think that's what our opportunity is for right now. And that's what I think the political environment, just
Hmm.
every aspect of life right now is
Hmm.
calling for us, clarion calling us to use our creativity, to surrender into our next bigger place. That is it's sort of like the down to go up higher.
Hmm.
The more you can jump, the more you can, like on a trampoline, the more you can have buoyancy to jump, the higher you can go. So I think that's where we can play right now is surrendering into our next step and letting go of our fear and pain and worry and limitation.
Well, that the chicken the egg metaphor really makes me think of, why do we resist surrender? And for me, I'm embarrassed to say, from the time I made that discovery, oh my God, I'm not alone. I have this spirit within. From that day, I figured out during the writing process, I was in my early 30s. It took me almost 20 years to get to the point of surrender. And
Mm.
I call it in the book, that stage being this epic battle, because what happens is, when I made that discovery, it was so funny, Sonny. There was about a 24-hour, maybe at most a 2-day period where I thought I had arrived. I thought, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. I am an enlightened man. I have reached the top of the mountain. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I was so excited. And then it slowly but surely, and the way I like to describe it, my bodyguard, my loyal bodyguard, who'd been with me for 32, 33 years protecting me, he rose back up to the surface, and
Oh yeah,
he says, hey, 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 wait a 1 minute. while
yeah,
you while you were out getting all new agey with your new friend, you forgot about me.
right.
So
Hmm.
so part of the resistance, so what that sets up, Sonny, is it sets up that epic battle that I talk about. It's our
Yeah,
bodyguard on one side that's was there to protect us and lead us through life. And then here's
yeah,
this new divine part that we just discovered, that we're so excited about. And we're always now going to feel the pull from that internal pull from the divine. But then it's like a tug of war. We're getting pulled by the bodyguard. So
well, but we can
that's
also, at this point, think of it as a teeter-totter. In other words, it is absolutely true, and that's why being in the body, this is the journey that we chose to come into. In other words,
mhm,
the lessons, the sacred lessons that we all signed up to go through and learn and develop and keep going
mhm.
up and up and up, can really happen here at the most concrete level. And so that you're speaking about is the resistance and release. So that is what we're actually doing is we're tiggle toggling up, up, up. We're not really pulling back and forth like the tug of war in a picnic you may have with your friends. It is really like using a muscle, using our spiritual sacred muscle, and we're moving up and up. And it's like brushing our teeth or anything working out. It's something that we do every day. And my belief is that we do move up, and even though it may not feel like it, because it may have the same sort of angst, but we are as a species and as each individual human beings, everyone listening and watching this, I know it's happening. And I know it's happening for Myrna and you, Craig, and me, where
Mhm.
even though it feels like it's just, back and forth, it is a toggling up, up, up. And so that is
Huh.
what I think is happening. And if it's okay with you, I would like to read your ancient Indian fable. Is that okay?
Oh yeah,
From
yeah, I
your
love
book?
it.
This is from Craig's book, guys, from I Am God in Disguise, and so are you. Once upon a time, a lioness fell asleep with her baby cub in the jungle. As the mother slept, the cub wandered off into the darkness and was lost. Days later, on the verge of starvation, the cub was found by a flock of sheep. The sheep welcomed the cub and raised him as their own. Over time, the cub lost all awareness of his true self. The adolescent lion now acted, sounded, and behaved like a sheep. One hot day, while grazing in the field, the sheep was startled by a large beast emerging from the forest. In panic, they quickly ran in the opposite direction. The lion sheep was frozen with fear. With great confusion, the beast approached and let out a roar that shook the earth. Assuming the end was near, the lion sheep was paralyzed. The magnificent lion grabbed the trembling animal and asked, "Why do you live and act like a sheep when you are the king of the jungle?" The lion sheep did not respond. The powerful lion pulled the sheepish lion to the water's edge, forcing the cowardly lion's head toward the reflection. The frustrated beast exclaimed, "Look, we are the same. Let me hear you roar." In an effort to appease the beast, the lion let out a sheep-like whimper. "Again," demanded the beast. After several attempts, the lion began to hear a familiar roar. With this discovery, the timid lion began to feel a stirring within his body. Memories of his true self were awakening. The young lion stood on the river's edge, feeling a new sense of purpose and excitement. With this excitement came fear of the unknown. This discovery changed his world in an instant. The large beast began to walk back to the forest, turning to let out the final roar as if to say, "Are you coming?" The young lion quickly realized his day of reckoning had arrived. Does he continue living his safe, predictable life as a sheep, or does he embrace his true self and surrender to the world of the unknown? Looking at the beautiful forest on the horizon, the young lion decides to take the leap of faith. This lion chose to surrender, to return to his primal way, to become who he has always been, king of the jungle. Yay! Amen.
That's right. So 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 we
And
need to
that,
so we need to quit being sheep, right? That's the moral of the story. And and
is.
and and for me, Sonny, that 20-year battle that I mentioned, that was my biggest resistor. It's like, why don't I surrender? Why am I holding on? And the biggest reason I couldn't surrender and I couldn't give up was fear of change.
Yeah,
And the unknown can be scary. And think of it this way: the self-talk. Life might be a struggle now. Life might be painful, but it's safe. It's predictable. And that's what I was thinking of when you were talking about the chick and the egg.
yes.
Another for me, and I really did a lot of soul searching because I was in this phase for 20 years. In hindsight, I wanted to investigate, what the hell was going on? Why did it take me so long? It's easier to be a victim. That's another big reason. To become a conscious player and to become this powerful lion like you just read about, you have to take responsibility for your current life situations. You have to be strong enough and courageous enough to look around and say, okay, I've created everything that I see in my world right now.
Yes.
And I am ready to take that next step. And I was not courageous enough. And I think there's a lot of people out there where, they're feeling the same way, that it's easier to be a victim.
Well, the
Um,
other thing about it is, I don't even know. I mean, I understand what you're saying about a victim,
mhm,
but I'm going to even up level it just a little tidbit to
okay.
give us all a bit of compassion. And that is, again, speaking about the lions, we're really speaking of the lions, which is so great today to think of it that way. The protective personality, what the protective personality is doing is saying it is very, very, again, primal. Because what the sacred personality or protective one is saying to us is what you did yesterday and what you did the day before kept you safe in the jungle. You did not get eaten by a lion. You did not get, killed by a rhino or whatever. So what you did yesterday will keep you safe today. And so and it will keep you safe tomorrow. So that is what the protective personality is telling us. And it's really, if
Mm,
we think of it from that compassionate place and not, in a negative
okay.
place, then we can say, okay, just like we would say to our little sister or our child, okay, I understand that feeling. I so get it. And I get the love in that. I get the, the, again, the lioness kind of protective situation. Okay, I'm going to embrace that energy, and I'm going to allow myself to know that I will be safe in the jungle if I do something different. So I may not even know what it is that's different, but I'm going to embrace the fact that my protective personality, or as you call it, the bodyguard, wants to keep me safe. That's what it is. Wants to keep me alive, for God's sakes. So, okay, I get it. I love you. Thank you. Great. And I will step out of the car. I will step
Right.
out of my house. I will do something new. And it may be spiritual breadcrumbs. It may not be a big, huge thing. It may be a little thing to allow the bodyguard to know, okay, I went a little bit farther and I'm still safe in the jungle. Okay. And the next day I can go a little farther. I think that is really what we can leave our people with, because I know oh my gosh, we're coming to our end. We're actually past our end.
What?
We must end right now. So we have to leave it with that, Craig. I
All
must have
right.
you back. I didn't realize we went so long. I was so engaged in our conversation.
Wow, time
So
flies.
yes, let us use our spiritual breadcrumbs and let us know that we are God in disguise. And can you quickly tell us where people can find you?
Oh, sure, sure. So I created a website that is a forum where I can interact with readers and you can purchase the book there. I also have some different inspirational posters and prints which go along with the message in the book. And the website is awesome with no E at the end. It's kind of a play on words, the OM at the end, like Om. So it's
Got it?
awesome, AWESOM life, life.com.
Got it. So, guys, check out this book. And Craig Kolavo, it has been such a pleasure to be with you. And I want to thank all of you for being with us, because we wouldn't be here without you. I'm Sunny Chase. You can find me on Solutionary Sundays on ABC on Sunday. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email at sunny at let'simagine.live. And I would love to hear from you. And until next time, follow those spiritual breadcrumbs and take a new chance today. And much love to you all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing the Mindalia TV cameras to be a channel for your ideas, for your wisdom, and to our audience, of course. Thank you for being with us. As you know, time flies when you're having a great time. We have had this conversation, it was amazing, and we're very happy to be able to share that with you. We are sending you a big hug, but don't leave without liking and subscribing not only this channel, but Mindalia Televisión in Spanish and Mindalia Televisao in Portuguese, where we are broadcasting amazing information on a daily basis. Big hug to you, and until next time. Bye bye.